a Simplex converted to a Great Western Railway Prairie tank part 66, painting the boiler backhead with satin black paint, fitting the remachined gland nut to the other side, followed by fitting the steam whistle valve. Just in case you're wondering what the piece of green masking tape is doing at the bottom of the boiler backhead, it's actually masking off the number of the boiler. Every steam boiler needs to have a unique number, and this matches the boiler to its corresponding boiler certificate. The reason for the masking tape is so that it's easily readable, which it won't be if I daub it with black paint. This painting sequence is quite short. It wasn't in reality, it took a while, but I'm running the video at 4 times normal speed. Sometimes I find painting quite therapeutic. When painting a boiler backhead, with the fittings all in place, you have to watch what you're doing. Lines between the painted parts and the unpainted parts need to be well defined. Any black paint on the shiny bits is just not going to look very good. This will be the only boiler backhead sequence that I'm going to show in this video series, although it will need another coat, maybe 2. The series about the rebuild of this Simplex Prairie tank is going to take quite a while. This is part 66, and I'm hoping from now on that the job is actually going to speed up, as the jobs that need doing are becoming less. I'm having to concentrate on this series for a couple of good reasons. One is it's a very complicated series, and I'm having to make myself do it. If I stall on this job, then that will not be a good thing. So every day I go into the workshop and do a little bit more. The other reason for concentrating quite a lot on this series is, as we're in a national lockdown, I don't want to arrange for people to deliver engines because I don't want to see anybody. I actually follow the rules, and it says stay at home, and that's what I'm doing. I have a look on eBay frequently to see if there's anything worth buying that I could feature in a video series, but I haven't seen anything really suitable for a while. I need to continue my series MIG welding for beginners, but in order to do that I need to import some talent to show you how to do it. Like a few friends of mine who are professional welders, but I can't do this owing to the pandemic. Looking on the bright side, I can clearly see the boiler number on the backhead of the boiler. And here is the usual shot of the paint drying while simultaneously showing the removal of the masking tape. In the previous episode I showed how I modified the gland nut, and here I'm going to do exactly the same on the other side, but relax, don't turn off, I'm not going to show the full sequence. I am going to show the removal of the grub screw which damaged the threads on both sides of these. Fitting grub screws like this to lock the gland in place is a terrible idea. A much better idea is to use a very thin lock nut. In this clip I'm removing the graphited yarn, and this is really terrible stuff. I mentioned it in the last episode. It's the modern equivalent of proper graphited yarn, and it is absolute rubbish. It's got very little in the way of body to it. It's very thin and spindly. I've had a few girlfriends that were like that. And while on the subject of girlfriends, in the last episode I think I was talking about the adjustment of the gland nut not being too slack or too tight, and I said at the end of it, just like a girlfriend I used to have. And a viewer mentioned that he hadn't heard that term for a long time. The term of endearment is really slack Alice, meaning someone who is not too bright and a bit stupid, and the term tight really means miserly. I once took a young lady out to dinner, and she was really slack. She knocked the wine over at the dinner table, and she was tight. Because she was paying for the meal, she wouldn't let me have a pudding, and that is a true story. I'm going to fly through this part. This is tightening all the nuts on the steam chest cover, just like I did on the other side. Once I'd finished tightening all these nuts, before I left the workshop, I gave both of the steam chest covers another coat of satin black. This next little job is very important. I've lifted the smoke box off the saddle and propped it in place with the part that goes across the front of the smoke box. And here I'm using some marking out blue, but I'm not using the brush that comes with it. I'm using a much finer, flatter brush to coat the smoke box so that when I mark the position of the bolt holes with the scriber through the saddle, the marks I make will be very visible when I come to drill the holes in the smoke box. In this clip I'm oiling up the engine because at the end of this video I'm going to let it run out with the engine running on the bench using compressed air. I made a separate video, not part of the series really, all about fixing the mechanical lubricator on this engine which was broken. And here's one of the boxes of bits that I frequently refer to and this is my small box of drain cocks and lubricator bits and pieces. And believe me, this has been the most useful box of bits I've ever had. Here is a clip from the video. It's called The Trouble with Mechanical Lubricators, and this was about halfway through the job. I made a slight modification, but as you can see, it's currently working okay. I fitted another lock nut against the central column to make the whole thing more rigid. And now the lubricator is working, I can run the engine much faster. Running the engine soon flattens my small compressor, so while I'm waiting for the compressor to pump back up, it's time to fit the whistle valve. I removed the right hand blanking plug that I fitted into the turret. And here, as usual, I'm about to rethread a PM Research 4x40 cast elbow. Apparently the USA version and the UK version of 4x40 threads is not the same. I'm told by viewers that the pitch is different, and I'm sure it is because it doesn't take much rethreading, and here I've fitted a double U-nin into it and some shim washers to allow me to fasten it very tightly into the turret. Then all I have to do, once again using shim washers, is fit the whistle valve, and here it is, all in line, ready to press to blow the whistle. This is a job that you really do need to check more frequently than you expect. I'm pushing a drill bit, a 1mm drill bit, up into the drain cocks to make sure that they're clear. These were partially blocked, but at least they weren't solid, and as you can see there's plenty of steam oil pouring out of the cylinder onto my thumb. This is a good sign. I'd be very worried if my fingers weren't as oily as this. The last thing I do when I run a steam engine, if it has drain cocks, is open them to let any trapped water drain away. And that's it for the narration on this video. I'll let the video run out with the engine running. Please stay healthy, thanks for watching, and I hope you found it useful. Please take the time to visit my main Steam Models website and click on the section of the website that says Video Playlists. And by doing that, you can find other videos that you may like to watch. And by using the playlists, you can actually watch the videos back to back.